Scouting is the program of the Boy Scouts of America designed to help our youth grow into active, well-balanced adults. A boy begins his scouting adventure as a Cub Scout. Cub Scouting for boys 8 through 10 features activities and projects that bring the whole family together. Boy Scouting for boys 11 through 13 features the outdoors, camping, hiking, nature, the environment, and begins to train the boy in the important art of leadership. The Exploring program opens the scouting door to both young men and women, 14 and over, and helps them explore their growing interests in vocations, social relationships, and opportunities for service. Scouting now covers the globe. More than 100 nations have it, and all of them share the same love of the outdoors, respect for their fellow man, and determination to live the scouting way. It all began before the turn of the century, when a young British Army officer in Africa developed a method of training his men to be self-reliant. His name was Robert Baden-Powell. He put his ideas into a booklet he called Aids to Scouting, and to his surprise, it captured the attention of educators, youth leaders, and others outside the Army. His little book was on its way to transforming his life and the lives of millions of others. When he returned to England following a great military victory in the Boer War, he was hailed as a national hero. But his mind kept returning to the ideas in Aids to Scouting, and so did many others who urged him to adapt his methods to fit the needs of boys. He decided to test his ideas, and in July of 1907, he took 20 eager boys, sons of both rich and poor, to Brownsea Island off the coast of England. He organized them into small groups called patrols, and they set up camp. For 12 history-making days, they cooked their own meals, slept in tents, and enjoyed a program of pioneering, stalking, rope work, and campfires, featuring stories of Baden-Powell's African adventures. It worked, and scouting was born. The vision of Baden-Powell and the nature of boys combined to create a movement destined to sweep the world. After Brownsea, Baden-Powell wrote a handbook called Scouting for Boys. He was convinced that his methods for training boys and young men would cut across social barriers and provide training and leadership. Soon, troops and patrols began to spring up all over England. In 1909, Chicago businessman William D. Boyce was lost in a London fog. A boy appeared and offered to take him to his destination. When Boyce tried to pay the boy for his help, the boy refused, saying that he was a scout and that scouts didn't accept money for doing a good turn. Boyce asked more about scouting, so the boy took him to Baden-Powell's office and then disappeared into the fog. He has been known ever since as the Unknown Scout. Boyce learned about scouting from Baden-Powell, and when he boarded the transatlantic steamer for home, he had a suitcase full of ideas and a determination to bring scouting to the United States. On February 8, 1910, the Boy Scouts of America was legally incorporated in Washington, D.C. We celebrate this date each year as our scouting birthday. 3 other men played an important part in the early years of American scouting. Ernest Thompson Seton, celebrated naturalist and artist. Daniel Carter Beard, pioneering outdoorsman known by a generation of admiring boys as Uncle Dan. And Dr. James E. West, the first Chief Scout executive, whose forceful leadership gave the young organization a running start into the 20th century. In June of 1916, the Boy Scouts of America was granted a federal charter by Congress. This national recognition added even more momentum to the rapidly growing movement. Back in England, Baden-Powell responded to the enthusiasm of younger boys by creating a program he called wolf cubbing. He based this program on Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Tales. Soon afterwards, in response to requests from parents of younger boys, Cub Scouting was introduced in the United States. By 1930, it had become an official part of the Boy Scouts of America. Scouting's first program for the older boy was started in 1912, Sea Scouting. This program gave boys 15 and over a special challenge based on the adventure and traditions of the sea. Exploring, beginning in 1949, encouraged older youth to pursue interests in a vocational field that could help them prepare for an adult career. So Scouting grew and made history. But it is much more than history. It is a way of life, a code of living in words that boys of every age can understand and accept. The driving force in all three Scouting programs is adult leadership. Millions of men and women volunteer to bring Scouting to young people because they believe in the worth of the program. How does Scouting reach boys? The BSA grants a charter to an organization, such as a church or service club or PTA. This organization agrees to use the Scouting program to help the boys within its membership or its community. Thousands of organizations have used all three Scouting programs over the years because they so often find that their goals and Scouting goals are much the same. Scouting still uses Baden-Powell's method of working in small groups. Cub Scouts are divided into dens. Boy Scouts are divided into patrols. In this way, boys learn to work together. All three Scouting programs feature a distinctive uniform. The uniform helps a member understand that he belongs to a worldwide movement that stands for specific ideals. Members promise to live according to these ideals. The Cub Scout through his promise and law of the pack, the Boy Scout through his Scout oath and law, and the Explorer through the Explorer Code. Scouting helps its members carry out these ideals by encouraging them to take active parts in the life of their church, school, home, and community. Scouting feels there is an important connection between the good turn of today and the responsible citizen of tomorrow. Although Scouting is non-sectarian, it has always emphasized a boy's obligation to God. Many Scouting units are in fact sponsored by religious organizations. Scouting continues to thrive around the world these days, but it has come a long way since 1907 and Brownsea Island. The things they did there are still fun and still popular. But so are a lot of activities the boys at Brownsea never dreamed of, because the world changes, and Scouting changes with it. But one thing about Scouting that never changes are the deep human values that Baden-Powell felt Scouting would help implant in a boy. Duty to God, to his country, to other people, and to himself. Perhaps a letter that Baden-Powell wrote to all Scouts shortly before he died sums up his message best. Try to leave this world, he said, a little better than you found it. Today, more than 12 million Scouts and leaders in every corner of the world are trying to leave it a little better than they found it. Now let's take a closer look at Cub Scouting and what it can do for boys and their families. Let's visit a Cub Scout. Meet Mark Jones. He's 8 years old and lives in an average town. He is about as full of energy as a pocket-sized atom bomb, but a lot less predictable. Mark is at an age where his moods and interests change rapidly. He lives in a world of imagination all his own. Mark's parents had about decided that Mark would never learn responsibility. He was always late. There were other things that Mark's parents wanted for him, too. They wanted him to develop good habits. They wanted him to learn to do worthwhile things. And most of all, they wanted him to have fun. He was growing up so fast. About that time, they were invited to a Cub Scout pack meeting at Mark's school. They all liked what they saw, so they joined. It wasn't only Mark who joined. Mark's mom signed up as an assistant den leader, and his dad signed up as a member of the pack committee, so they could share this experience with their son. They found out that some of the boys at the meeting didn't have two parents, but that didn't make any difference. One boy joined with the consent of his foster mother, and all of them felt welcome and had a good time. Mark found himself a member of a den. The den was made up of his neighborhood friends who met weekly in the home of Mrs. Anderson, the den leader. It was even more fun because Mark's mom came to the meeting too and helped the den leader. Mark really liked the den meetings. One time they went on a nature hike. Another week they made puppets. And once they visited a bakery and saw how bread is made. And donuts. Something else about den meetings. Mark found out that his friend, Tom Spencer, was not only their paper boy, but as an older scout, he served as den chief for the den. Mark liked Tom and really enjoyed learning tricks and games from him. Then there were the pack meetings. Once a month, all the dens met at the school, and each den put on a skit or stunt. The most exciting pack meeting was Mark's first one, when he was inducted into the pack with his parents. One month, Mark's den put on a skit about the circus. They wore circus costumes they had made in den meeting. That was when the monthly theme was Circus Comes to Town. Speaking of themes, that's another thing that Mark liked about Cub Scouting. Each month, the den worked on activities planned around a special theme such as knights, astronauts, or pirates. And then at pack meetings, they had a chance to show what they had made. The pack meeting was also the time when the boys received the badges they had earned. Mark earned the Bobcat badge the first month, and a few months later, he received the Wolf badge. And of course, his mom and dad were there to accept the badge and present it to him. While Mark was working on his Wolf badge, his parents found a lot of help in a special section of his Wolf book. It told them how they could help Mark earn the badge. Now that Mark has earned the Wolf badge, he must wait until he is 9 years old to begin working in the Bear book. So he is working hard on the wide variety of elective projects and is earning arrow points to wear under his Wolf badge. Mark's happy because he is having fun with his friends and learning to do new things. And he is earning badges at the same time. Mark's parents are happy because they are all having fun together as a family. They work on Cub Scout projects and encourage him to do his best on each one. Mark's den leader is happy because she knows Mark is learning some important values that will help him in later life. This is one of the purposes of the Cub Scout program. And that's how Cub Scouting is helping Mark Jones and his family. And that's how it can help your family too. Welcome to Cub Scouting.